I'm 28, and I think the most exhausting kind of relationship problem is the one that sounds small when you explain it to other people, but slowly takes over your nervous system while you're living inside it. No one got arrested. No one cheated. No one smashed plates against a wall. It was just this constant cycle of doubt, reassurance, dismissal, and then somehow me ending up as the problem for being tired of it. For a long time, I kept telling myself it wasn't serious enough to matter, that it was just anxiety, just bad habits, just one of those annoying relationship quirks people work through if they love each other enough. Then I realized something worse. It wasn't only that she was anxious, it was that she had started using my patience like infrastructure. Her name is Lena. She's 34. We were together for a little over a year. When we met, it was not supposed to turn into anything serious. She had just ended a long, messy relationship. I was newly out of a situationship that had dragged on so long it deserved its own weather system. At first, we were just sleeping together. Casual, or at least the kind of casual people say out loud, while quietly learning each other's coffee orders and trauma histories. She was older than me by 6 years, self-possessed in a way I found magnetic, and sharp enough that I assumed emotional maturity came with the package. She had a good career in corporate compliance, read constantly, dressed like she had her life in order, and spoke with the confidence of someone who expected to be listened to. I liked that about her, maybe too much, because I have a habit of mistaking certainty for safety. There was one comment early on that should have warned me. Before we even slept together, she made some joke about not knowing what to expect from me physically because she had heard things about Asian men. She said it lightly, almost teasingly, the kind of thing a person says when they want the reaction without having to own the cruelty of it. I laughed it off because I didn't want to look insecure. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was assuming the joke would disappear once we actually got together. It didn't. Over the next few months, she kept making these little comments. That she was surprised. That I was fine. That I was at the safest limit. That maybe other men were probably bigger, but I was at least not disappointing. She always said it like a joke, which is convenient because people who like to wound and then sidestep accountability love the shelter of humor. Every time I looked uncomfortable, she would tilt her head and say, "Oh my God, you know I'm kidding." The problem with repeated jokes is that eventually your body stops hearing them as jokes at all. It just hears comparison, evaluation, measurement. At the same time, a different issue was growing. Lena was chronically anxious in a way that governed the emotional climate of our relationship. At first, I did not mind reassuring her. Really, everyone has something. She worried about food safety, travel rules, minor health symptoms, bank alerts, random things she saw online. I figured this was just part of loving someone who needed a little more grounding. But her preferred source of information was TikTok. And not TikTok in the normal funny clips and recipes sense. TikTok as a conveyor belt of low-grade panic. One day it was a video saying freezing food somehow made it more dangerous. The next, it was a creator claiming all Canadians needed new travel authorization to enter Europe immediately. Then some travel influencer insisting entry procedures at a connecting airport always took 3 hours minimum. Then a relationship coach saying men who fall asleep too fast after sex are emotionally avoidant. Then another one saying women should test their partners by withholding reassurance and seeing who earns it. She absorbed all of it like it was half scripture, half emergency bulletin. Here is what the cycle became. She would see something. She would panic. She would ask me about it. I would explain, often with actual evidence. Then she would either not believe me, zone out while I explained, or treat my answer like one opinion among many. No more credible than the panicked stranger in a 3-part TikTok stitched over sad music. I work in microbiology. That matters here. Not because I enjoy sounding smug about it, because I genuinely do know what I'm talking about when it comes to contamination, storage, pathogens, and how food actually behaves outside the fantasy ecosystem of social media fear-mongering. One night, she insisted frozen meat somehow became dangerous faster after thawing, because of a woman online with excellent lighting and zero apparent qualifications. I explained carefully why that was not how any of this worked. She listened for about 20 seconds and then said, "I don't know. That still doesn't feel right to me." That phrase became our whole relationship in miniature. I would bring facts. She would bring feelings shaped by strangers. And somehow I was still expected to be infinitely patient because she was just asking for reassurance. The travel issue was worse. We had a trip to Europe booked. Flights, hotels, internal train tickets, everything. And because she saw one video claiming all foreign nationals suddenly needed an ETA immediately, she spiraled into a multi-day panic that we were about to miss the entire trip. I showed her the official website. I explained that as Canadian nationals, we did not currently need what she was worried about. I walked her through it line by line. She asked if I was sure. I said yes. She asked again. I showed her again. Then she said she still didn't know because sometimes official sites are confusing. That is the point where reassurance stops being reassurance and turns into unpaid labor for someone else's preferred panic. I started noticing something that made me deeply tired. She did not actually want to be informed. She wanted to feel temporarily soothed. And if information got in the way of the emotional rhythm she was used to, she rejected it. That would have been exhausting enough on its own. But when I finally told her how draining this was, she got offended and said I was making her anxiety about me. No, I was making the impact of her behavior about me. There is a difference. We had another fight a few weeks later, and this one cracked something open. It started because she asked me, for what felt like the 50th time, whether customs in Iceland would make us miss our connection to Germany. I explained again that we would not clear customs in the way she was imagining at the point she was imagining it. She asked if I was certain. I said yes. Then she said, "But a girl on TikTok said they got stuck there for hours." And something in me just snapped. Not loud, not spectacular, just that internal feeling of reaching your final repetition. I said, "If you trust random people online more than you trust me, why do you keep asking me?" She started crying immediately. That is another pattern that took me too long to understand. The second I stopped being endlessly patient, her hurt became the dominant event in the room. Not the original problem, not the disrespect. My tone, my exhaustion, my failure to be infinitely absorbent. She said she came to me because she needed reassurance from someone she loved. I said reassurance means listening when the person answers. Otherwise, you are not asking for reassurance. You are asking me to audition for credibility over and over against an algorithm that already has your loyalty. That did not go well. She said I was cruel. Then she said I thought I was smarter than her. Then she accused me of enjoying making her feel stupid. I never said she was stupid. That is the trick, isn't it? People translate accountability into contempt when they need a reason not to hear it. Around the same time, the body comments came to a head too. After months of me trying to act unbothered, I finally told her those jokes about my size were not funny to me, that they had made me self-conscious, that every "you're fine" or "at least you're not tiny" had landed as a comparison I never consented to. She got quiet for half a second. Then she said something like, "So now your insecurities are my fault." And there it was, the same structure as everything else. She says something hurtful. I raise it carefully. She reframes my hurt as an accusation against her. Then suddenly I am apologizing for making her feel bad. The amount of energy I spent trying to discuss harm without making the person causing it uncomfortable is honestly humiliating in retrospect. The relationship did not explode after that. It got worse in the quieter way. I started editing myself more, answering less, feeling tense before conversations I knew would somehow become circular. I still cared about her. That was the annoying part. There was good, real good. She could be funny, affectionate, sharp, attentive in these sudden, lovely bursts. She would remember tiny details about my day. She could be warm in bed, curious about my work, generous in ways that felt sincere. But all of that started sitting beside something else. The constant experience of being used as an emotional regulator whose actual perspective did not matter much once it conflicted with what she already felt. I realized I no longer relaxed around her. I prepared. There is a huge difference between those two states, and your body always knows it before your pride does. The final break happened because of a flight layover. I wish I were joking. We were a few weeks out from the trip, and she started spiraling again because of some new video claiming entry procedures in Europe had changed overnight and that airlines did not inform passengers properly. She asked me what I thought. I said we were fine. She asked if I had checked. I said yes. She asked when. I told her that morning. She asked if maybe I should check again. Then she showed me another TikTok and said, "I just feel like you're not taking this seriously." I looked at her and thought, I have given you facts, websites, screenshots, explanations, patience, time, expertise, and emotional labor. And somehow I am still the careless one because I am not panicking with you. And that was the moment I understood I was not in a relationship with an anxious person who respected me. I was in a relationship where anxiety had become a shield, and my role was to stand behind it until I disappeared. I told her I could not do it anymore. She laughed at first, like I was making a point inside the argument. I said no, I mean the relationship. I cannot keep doing this. I cannot keep being your fact-checker, your reassurance dispenser, your emotional ballast, and somehow also the person you dismiss the second my answer feels less emotionally satisfying than a stranger on your phone. She cried. She said I was abandoning her over anxiety. I said I was leaving because every conversation had become a test I was not allowed to pass. Then she said the line that sealed it. I just need you to be more patient until I feel safe. And I remember thinking, I have been patient for a year while feeling progressively less safe myself. When exactly was my turn supposed to come? Update 1. We broke up a week before the trip. Yes, that meant dealing with cancellations, rebookings, awkward money conversations, and the deeply surreal experience of separating your life from someone while customer service hold music plays in the background. I still went to Europe, alone, partly because most of it was non-refundable, partly because I was too angry to let fear make one more decision for me. It was weird and quieter than planned, but I am glad I went. Nothing dramatic happened. No magical self-discovery montage. I just felt what it was like to move through a day without someone outsourcing their anxiety into my bloodstream. That alone was worth the airfare. Update 2. I have thought a lot about why the comments about my body got to me as much as they did. And I think the answer is simple. She trained me to bring her every fear, every uncertainty, every soft interior thing. Then when I finally brought her mine, she treated it like an accusation. That tells you everything you need to know about how safe someone really is. I do not think she is evil. I think she is anxious, intelligent, emotionally needy, and far too comfortable letting other people pay the cost of all that. But good explanations do not automatically create healthy relationships. Sometimes they just make unhealthy ones harder to leave. Update 3. We are no longer in contact. The last message she sent said she hoped one day I would understand she was just trying to feel secure. Maybe that is true, but I have started to understand something more important. Someone else's insecurity does not justify turning you into a permanent source of proof. You are allowed to be loved without constantly being tested. You are allowed to be believed by the person asking for your reassurance. And you are allowed to leave when the role they have built for you is comfort object with a pulse. That sounds colder than I mean it to. The truth is, I still feel sad sometimes. There was a version of us that could have been really good if she had trusted anything real more than whatever her fear found most vivid in the moment. But a relationship cannot survive if one person keeps dragging in imaginary threats and then punishing the other person for not kneeling before them. In the end, I did not leave because she was anxious. I left because I realized she only wanted my reassurance if it never challenged the story she had already decided to believe.